So, good evening, friends. I, Dr. Nirupama Agarwal, welcome you all on behalf of Homeopathic Journal India Foundation. And I hope you all have downloaded our first e-journal and do send us your feedback. And our today's speaker is Dr. Vrushali Saraswat, and topic is very interesting. Introduction to ADHD, current issues, right? Lot of cases we see it's increasing in our clinic, and answer is homeopathy to a great extent. Hmm. So, Dr. Vrushali Saraswat is gold medalist in homeopathy from London, and she's a founding member of Homeopathic Journal India Foundation. She's national and international speaker, and she has conducted over 70 seminars and webinars. She's a COVID warrior. She has got COVID Warrior Award in 2020. She also has got Savitri Gaurav Puraskar in 2019. And she has presented various of her papers in national and international platforms. So, welcome, Dr. Vrushali, and enlighten us with the knowledge that is ADHD.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nirupama. You forgot one of my most important introduction that um, I am Nirupama's very good friend since a very, very long time, right? And it gives me immense pleasure to be here speaking today. I had initially given some other topic, but in the light of it being, you know, the month starts with Autism Day on 2nd of April. So I thought, why not pick up some topic which is closer to, autism, wherein a lot of ADHD children are unknowingly stamped as autistic and they are put for various kind of treatment. More than the treatment, it is the trauma which all these children go through. So if we are able to remove that myth today and bring a big chunk under ADHD and make them functional, I think my purpose of today's webinar will be served. Now, when we are saying, so I want to ask you all, why did I title it today as Introduction to ADHD? Anybody? I mean, can I just can people write in the chat? Can I ask you
Yes.
to write something? Tell me that you are really, really listening to me.
Be active, huh, friends?
Yes, I would love
This
that
speaker
because
is going to make you
speaking
active.
absolutely, speaking to the screen doesn't make me so happy. If I'm interacting with people, that makes me more like it's more involved. It has to be a two-way communication, isn't it? So
Yes.
why did we say not managing ADHD, not understanding ADHD, but just introduction? Any ideas? I think this is a time when people are generally in the clinic, isn't it, Nirupama? So
Yeah.
maybe I hope that you guys are thinking, but I'll start answering it. So the point is, this topic is such a vast topic, and yeah, absolutely. Yes, Dr. Dhiman has already answered that it's a huge mental health spectrum and it's a huge thought process. So, how much ever I speak on it, it is still going to be ADHD. It is still going to be just an introduction, right? So, let's just start. Do we all know the full form of ADHD? Because I have seen that lot of people use it very, very loosely. Nowadays it's a fashion, and because yes, Dr. Vahi is also saying the cases on ADHD are increasing day by day, and possibly working couple not able to enough time to their children. All these are reasons. These are just, reasons given by the way to brush it away and not actually handle the issue. Attention deficit hyperactive disorder. Perfect. I have heard both my children are teenagers, so I'm most of the time surrounded by teens, and I have heard them very loosely talk. My ADHD is kicking in today. They don't even know what they mean by ADHD. And similarly, if a child is misbehaving, if a child is not listening to the parents, or if the child is not listening to the teacher, it is very loosely stamped that child has ADHD. So do we allow such things? What do we do? What do you all do when you are faced with this? It frustrates me that why do you want to stamp some children with some diagnosis which you do not understand? It's like your parenting is not to the mark, or you are not giving enough attention. It could be like genuine cry for attention, and you are stamping it to be ADHD very, very loosely. Okay, so let me just start the session with how I usually start, with a case. Okay, let's start it from here. Is my screen visible, Nirupama?
Yes,
Yeah?
very good.
Okay. Okay, I'll go full screen and just give me a minute. Yeah. And we are recording the session, right?
Yes, yes, it's going.
Okay, okay. All right. So, okay. So, yeah. So let me just start with a case wherein I have just discussed that there are people who are very eager to stamp somebody with ADHD diagnosis. But this was a case which came to me a long, long time ago in 2016, wherein the family was completely in denial. This was a child who was like very pampered from a family from a huge joint family from UP. It was like the child had come to me for treatment of palmoplantar psoriasis, and he did have asthma, but even the grandfather did not want me to call it as asthma. He said usko sardi khasi hota hai. He just has cold cough. So we will only call it as cold cough. He does not have asthma. So they were completely in denial. Forget about anything to do with his hyperactivity. He was a tall, thin child, 8-year-old, and he had like a weird grin on his face all the time, mischief. He's just about to do something, but he would be busy in his own sense. Grandfather used to be the deciding authority. Fortunately for me, he had come for the child's treatment, and he narrated the whole history. Mother was just sitting quietly, so I could build some rapport with grandfather. Then I went through the regular case taking, and I could find that there is something off with this child. He has a mischievousness, and there was uh, when I asked the grandfather to leave because I wanted to take mother's history during pregnancy. So that time I asked him to step outside, and then the mother starts telling me, the school counselor is calling us since a long time, but grandfather is just not allowing. He's saying there is no need, there is nothing wrong with my child. So then I asked her, what all is the child doing? Why is the school calling you? So she goes on and on and on. It's a long list of things. Like, he's he speaks lies. He will say anything to anybody. He will go and fiddle with neighbors some outdoor decorations, and he will say my grandmother has asked me to fiddle with it, and he will pick up some stuff from school, he will pick up a pencil box or maybe small things from somebody, and he will put it in some other person's bag, but he will not say that he has done it. So there will long list of hyperactive behavior, and the teacher would never be able to make him sit in one place and learn. So the mother had lot of difficulty, so I just asked her to fill up Connor's rating scale. It's a rating scale, I will talk about it sometime later. And what I could see was he had severe attention deficit. So the scale was scoring at 65. So I said, let me just go through what symptoms he has. So he had a lot of difficulty expressing himself. Okay. So anytime he would suffer anything, even during his asthma, he would not be able to explain his symptoms. He could not form 2 or 3 sentences coherently. He will just go on saying to the teacher also, he would say auntie, 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 and then he will just go blank sometimes. Sometimes he will be speaking very fast and without making much sense. He had lot of irritability. Typically, he had irritability when he was questioned. So, if the teacher would ask him questions, he would get angry. Grandparents would ask him questions: where are you going? What are you doing? Whatever, any silly things, he would get angry, and he will shout and yell at them. He would give back answers. Then, if somebody is scolding him, he will laugh. He wanted respect. That was a part which came later, that in the building nobody would play with him. They would all leave him aside, and he would say, I feel insulted, बुरा लगता है मेरे को, मेरा इज्जत नहीं करते. That was the very typical word. They said, where does it come from? So mother had given a history that father also goes through the similar kind of feeling, and that's where probably he picked up the word इज्जत नहीं करते. But I could sense that there was a lot of disrespect which he felt for himself, and he was fidgeting continuously. There were disconnected talks. Sometimes he would say one thing and then he would jump to another one. So as I was talking to the mother, I was taking up symptoms. I was just putting everything in repertory, and there was one remedy which was running through. Okay. Then while I was talking to the mother, abruptly he would start speaking. Abruptly, suddenly he will, get up from the place, and he will come and he will say something. Auntie, this happened. Auntie, that happened. Very sudden. So I asked mother whether his behavior is like this. She said, yeah, he's always like that. He will not ask any permission, or he will, forget permission, but then just suddenness of his behavior. So abrupt was very prominent. So I picked up that. He wanted to move all the time. Like they had a big house. Continuously, he would be just going up and down, moving here and there, and some of the other activity continuously he had to do. All those symptoms I've already taken, right? If he had to answer, he will answer very short, nah, and so it was more like rudeness, it would appear. And that's why grandparents had trouble that this child is very rude. But mostly, it was his inability to communicate everything. He would not be able to form a proper sentence, and that's why his um, difficulty in conversing, and therefore the answers were very abrupt and short. Okay. Then definitely he had difficulty in concentration. He could not read and write. He was 8 years old, but 8-year-old child in Mumbai, good school, can really read very well, but he was not able to read and write well. Uh, the teacher was repeatedly giving him writing homework, punishments, whatever. Once his difficulty in writing comes, then comes the punishment, then comes again the shame. Because of that, again, that respect wala thing, he would again bring it up that at school also nobody respects me, and therefore I don't want to go to school, I don't want to do this. So there was a lot of trouble, lot of trauma which was going on, and he would contradict. He would, whatever you tell him, he would immediately contradict. And the mother had also said that in building also, if he is waiting for the lift and lift doesn't come very fast, then he will go on shouting lift, 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 like that. If the person who is descending in the lift says, why you're shouting, beta, you have to wait for the lift, he will say, what happens to you? I will shout, I want to shout. So he doesn't, you cannot say anything to him, and he feels hurt if anybody points out any particular thing in him. So this was very, very prominent. Again, same remedy, so many symptoms, same remedy had come. So here my concern was not remedy, but to understand the behavior. And had given Blata Orientalis to him. We can discuss the remedy sometime later, but main point here was his attention. The way this child was groomed, as if there is nothing wrong with him. There were no concerning symptoms. School is not able to understand, or school is not able to take care of this child, and therefore the grandparents were saying that our child is good, school is not good, so let's just change the school. That was their approach, and the resultant was this child was suffering and he was failing continuously. So let's just go to how do you diagnose? So before treatment and after treatment, I've seen, see this Connors rating scale. These parents have only filled up. Okay. Even before treatment and after treatment, parents, they themselves fill it up so that, the clarity comes to them. It is not up to us to make them understand whether the child has improved or not. They themselves will tell you. Okay, so the scale improved. So now let us understand how did he improve. So for that, let me take you deep inside ADHD. So attention deficit hyperactive disorder, it is a neurodevelopmental disorder. It is not a psychiatric disorder, though it has been classified according to the diagnostic manual DSM-5. We take the criteria from there, but it is a developmental disorder. And it is a disorder which starts in the child, but can also continue through adulthood. How? I will show it to you in the next case. The fun part of this is that it doesn't, like, an ADHD child doesn't grow up and then his ADHD vanishes. It doesn't happen like that. The ADHD, the phenomenon stays with the child. What can improve is his adaptability to the disease, his ability to live with it. He can, work on himself better. The family dynamics, if it is better, then the child can do wonders. There is nothing wrong with the child. And as the name suggests, ADHD, the attention deficit, in reality, it is attention overload. So, what happens exactly is there is a disturbance in catecholamine, the neurotransmitters, and therefore, the brain of ADHD child can construct many multiple thoughts at a very fast pace. It can just create those many thoughts, but it cannot dismantle it. So, therefore, focusing is difficult. So, the pace at which the thoughts are created is so fast that they cannot focus on one thing. So, that's why attention remains scattered. Okay, so it's not attention deficit, it is attention overload. It cannot work that fast. If we are able to give them some activities wherein they are able to manage the pace of creation of thought, they will be able to function better. So there are three main types: inattentiveness, hyperactivity, and impulsivity. So, in these three types, it's never so very compartmentalized that one child will come with only inattentiveness, another one will come with hyperactivity, and another one will come with impulsivity. No, it's usually a mixture of two things. Like in this child, he had hyperactivity and impulsivity. He did not have inattentiveness. He was attentive to people. Whatever people were saying were just, it was just going inside him. But there will be some children. So, like, there was another case wherein that girl had difficulty in giving attention to people. So she did not have problems with impulsivity. She would not take impulsive decisions. She was not abrupt. But that girl used to be so inattentive to whatever is happening around her. She would feel that all the people in her family are there just to work for her. So, very fondly, I used to call her as a dainty princess because she was more interested in small, dainty kind of things. She was very fond of sweets. She wanted all the sweets, all like sweet things all the time. And she would expect everybody around her to work for her. So she did have hyperactivity and inattentiveness to so many aspects of life. She was a 12-year-old girl and she was absolutely inattentive in the class. She did not care about her friends' requirements, their studies. If she felt that she missed the class and she cannot understand, she would simply say, today you give me your notes, I will give it to you tomorrow. And she would forget to give notes and she had no value. Like there was no attention to other people's requirements. That is inattentiveness. Whereas the case which I shared just now, that child had impulsivity. Like he was very, very impulsive. He would, on impulse, pick up things from one person and give it to another, or on impulse, he would say rudely, abruptly, he would say things. So these are mixtures of different forms which can be seen in one child. Okay. Now, where does it come from? So, evolutionary, some factors are biological. It may not be just because, parents do not have time. It's not like that. Even when parents did have time before, like, say, 20 years ago, when parents did have time, even then ADHD existed. So, it could be biological, like genetic. Then there are psychosocial factors. So, mother's history during pregnancy is of utmost importance when you want to diagnose somebody with ADHD. So, all the psychosocial factors you have to consider, you have to understand, and then you will come to clinical expressions. So, all these three factors will become kind of conglomerate for your diagnostic understanding of ADHD. Then what are other causes of developing ADHD further? So attention problems and learning disabilities are secondary. So what it starts with is there is a failure to understand a certain experience, and learning is an experience. Like going to the school is an experience, following teachers instructions is an experience. So there are so many experiences which the child is failing at. The child is not able to perform all those various experiences, which leads to poor learning. So let me take you back to this child's case wherein right when he was in preschool he was not able to follow through. So he was in a very very good school which had very basic kind of writing methods, uh, writing the shapes, or they had creative ways of teaching alphabets, but this child was not able to follow that. Now, when he was not able to follow that, repeatedly he was asked, like his parents were called in the school, and mother was typically going, father never went to the school, but mother was repeatedly asked that you must help the child to artistically formulate the alphabets, and he should have learned it. But parents did not take effort, and therefore the child failed at learning basic alphabets, and that's where his poor performance started. And then when he cannot basically understand alphabets, how will he read or write? So he was not able to perform better, and that's where the attention deficits began. If you're not able to read or write, what are you going to do in the school? Most of the time school teachers are not interested so much because they have a huge class to attend to. They cannot sit and work with one child, right? So they will lack all these children who do not have, who have inability to identify alphabets. Now in third grade, if he's not able to identify, he's losing it. He cannot write at the speed what teacher is dictating, or whatever is happening in the class. He's not able to keep pace with it, and therefore he loses focus, he loses interest. So it's all very very logical. So if we are able to go at the root cause, then we can give them good solutions. So there can be some signs wherein you can earlier predict that there is a possibility of ADHD, like preterm babies or low birth weight babies. Sometimes around birth, whatever injuries, anoxia, or around the birth injuries are there, or learning disabilities with normal infancy. If some child is identified earlier, he can be helped better. He can be taught different life skills so that his pace of creation of thought can be matched with his actions, with his dismantling of the thought. Okay, then there are certain visual or auditory stimuli. There is a lack of comprehension leading to inadequate organization in the brain. So, as I told you, it's a neurodevelopmental story, it's a neurodevelopmental disorder. Therefore, whatever they are seeing or whatever they are hearing, not everything is going as it should. So, it's not following the same pathway to till the brain, and therefore, there is no coordination. So they're typically not able to tie shoelaces. And we are going to see it in the next few slides. So there is inability to coordinate his motor or behavioral activities according to the stimuli. Now you see the case which I discussed. Most of the times in the building, children were not taking this child to play. Why? Because he was lacking eye hand coordination. He was not able to catch the ball. So he was kind of a liability. Now, if we are able to give solution at that level, that you play a certain kind of game wherein you do not require eye hand coordination, or you work on it and then you go to play, he would be better help. But we will come to it only when we understand that it is a neurodevelopmental disorder wherein there is eye hand coordination difficulty. Okay, then there can be dyslexia, like loss of reading skills due to localized damage in the brain tissue. Then there is poor performance in school. So these are all earlier detection. So typically ADHD you cannot diagnose before 7 years of age. So before that, if you want to identify in certain cases, so these are fine how do I put it? These are some observations which we have seen in so many cases which I've treated. The kids are impulsive, they're easily distracted, there is poor attention span, the kids are more demanding. uh, you have to understand, it's not just ziddi bacha, it's not demanding kid, but it is because he doesn't get a lot of things. There is a coordination difficulty, and therefore the child becomes demanding. He wants more attention, he is asking for help, and which might, you know look like a nag, and therefore you feel he's like misbehaving. There is inability to connect to the peers, and therefore they again depend on their caregivers, the parents, or the whomsoever, grandparents, whomsoever is around, they more depend on them. And therefore, rather than going out and playing with the children, they will be more at home or more giving trouble to the family. And definitely hyperactivity is there, because they don't know the pace at which their thoughts are coming, they don't know what to do with it. So the hyperactivity is going to be there. Okay, now let's go what clinical features, variety of clinical features which we can see. So it can be categorized as difficulty in tying the shoelace. By 4 or 5 years of age, all the children are able to tie their own shoelace. If a child is not able to do that, you have to, a bell has to ring. It's a complex activity, right? Tying the shoelace. If you guys have seen, I'm forgetting the name of the movie, but it's a, oh,
Tare Zameen.
huh? Tare Zameen Par. Yeah, that's a correct. That's a Hindi movie where, but it's an autistic disorder, so we will not go there. But there is another ADHD movie wherein, the actor has been taught to tie shoelace with a poem. So it's a eye-hand coordination. Your eyes and hand has to have a coordination which they cannot. They cannot. They confuse between letters B and D, P and Q, right? They they play with required sensory and motor coordination. So sensory and motor coordination play whatever is there. Like there are those books wherein there are different kind of surfaces are stuck on the book, and the child has to close eyes and touch and tell what is the surface which he is touching. They are not able to identify very easily. They cannot distinguish that. They cannot draw figures. They cannot see a particular shape and draw it exactly how they are supposed to. They cannot imitate actions, so they perform poorly in dance classes. If the dance teacher says go right, they'll go left. They have a confusion, they cannot imitate exactly, and they will dance because there will you can see some of the cases which I have treated. They have wherein you require tarantula and like of any remedies like that wherein there is a lot of rhythm. Children can dance very well, but they will dance on their own. They will have their own steps, but they will not imitate the steps which teacher is telling them. Or whatever, if they're in a group dance, you can point out that this child is dancing separately, differently. They will have difficulty in learning to read and write. They will have discrimination of right and left is a difficulty. Like typically, if as I already said, dance moves, right and left is going to be really difficult for them. Then the next one is inability to do sequential work. Like if some work is step by step, like after this step, you have to go to this and then you have to do that. That is going to be difficult for them because linearity is not there. They can do hodgepodge here and there. Then there will be inability to draw figures from memory. So if you ask them that you draw a flower, they can draw any flower. But if you ask them draw a tulip flower, then they'll be confused as to which one, because the coordination is not complete. Then they will have difficulty in recalling every day. Like today is happening, all if you ask them linearly, they will not be able to tell you. Drawing figures, we've already said. Imitating actions, we've said. Yeah. So we've completed that. Now, these are diagnostic criteria of ADHD from inattention. Okay, so they will make careless mistakes, they will lack attention to details, difficulty in sustaining attention, they does not seem to listen to when spoken directly, and they will fail to follow through tasks or instructions, and they will have poor organization skills. They will avoid or dislike tasks requiring sustained mental effort. They will lose things which are necessary or required for any task or activity. So, this dainty princess, what I said, inattention, she used to lose a lot of her stuff. She would forget. She would not give any attention to any of her belongings. She was 12, and so many times, and she came from a very affluent family, so very expensive stuff she always had. And she would, like, one day she had gone to a mall with a lot of friends of hers, and she had a very nice Disney backpack. She went to the washroom and she forgot it there. So she said, "Yeah, it's okay. I mean, I lost it." So there is no logical reason which you can give it to them. They cannot remember. They cannot give lot of attention to their own things. They will be forgetful in daily activities. Now, the symptoms of hyperactivity. Okay, symptoms of hyperactivity, fidgeting. You will see a lot of fidgeting with adults, but that fidgeting is different because a lot of times it will come out of anxiety. That's a completely different fidgeting. The anxious person will be looking, typically what it is my personal observation, that they will be looking upwards and the gaze will be in thought. They're kind of thinking, and therefore there is fidgeting of hand, or the feet is going to be like tap 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 suddenly. That is anxiety. But these children, they will be like just sitting and their hand will be moving. If you ask them that you cannot get up, you have to sit in this place only, then you will see a lot of fidgeting. Even they will have a pen in their hand, they will go on clicking it continuously or opening the cap. Something or the other, there has to be an activity. Okay. And typically, you see, they will leave the seat when they're expected. So in the school, they will get maximum scolding because they are leaving their seat and roaming around here and there. There is a lot of restlessness, and they're continuously on the go. They will also talk excessively, and they will blurt out answers when they are not supposed to. So, the first case which about that boy, Blata Orientalis, that boy, he was like, his mother did not want to actually say that grandfather is very dominating, or he is the one who is leading the whole house. But as soon as grandfather went out, that boy said, दादू तो वैसे भी बहुत परेशान करते हैं, उनके बिना तो कुछ बोल ही नहीं सकते, अच्छा हुआ वो चले गए. So the mother was very embarrassed that how suddenly he is blurting out this kind of information, family information. So they don't have that kind of a boundary. They will also have difficulty of waiting their turn, and it is natural. They cannot, once a thought has come, they don't know how to hold it. It has to come out. So they have to immediately act on it. So hyperactivity mixed with impulsivity, it comes from here. And they interrupt or intrude others. So there is no boundary basically. Okay. So far, any questions, Nirubama? I can't see the chat actually.
Yes, there is one question.
Yeah.
Vahi sir has asked this question: How to differentiate ADHD and bipolar mania in case of adult?
Very good question. Excellent. So, there are so many different criteria of bipolar which we can take from DSM, but ADHD will not have mood swings. They will have a lot of times symptoms are going to be of neurodeficit. So, like, they will have excessive thoughts. They will. I'm coming next to adult ADHD only. A lot of times, children will not come with bipolar. Mostly, it will come in adult cases, right? So, there are lot of differentiations. Like, bipolar can have ways and means of kind of holding their thoughts and bringing it out as and when they want. But in ADHD, they do not have that kind of a filter. Okay. So maybe my next case will help you understand it. So this was a case, um, and this was one of the most eye-opening case which made me look at ADHD in a completely different perspective. So I'm going to rush through it because we have 20 minutes left. So this was a 72-year-old lady who had come to me for treatment of asthma. So she had been having asthma all her life, and she did not get cured of asthma. She used to take pump all the time, and for longest time she did have that complaint. Somebody from her family visited me for some other complaint, and then they thought that might as well get this granny also and let her take treatment. So that's how she came for asthma. But her behavior, her way, the way in which she would sit and talk was so very different. And it was striking to me that it made me diagnose her for the first time, and, you know, made me learn more and more about adult ADHD. So, till then, I used to be only diagnosing children as ADHD. After that, I started understanding what adult ADHD actually can be. That even at the age of 72, if that lady could have ADHD. So she had, she sat in a very typical manner on the sofa when she sat in my clinic. She pulled up her sari and she sat in a very indecent kind of manner. So, there was, she was just at as if she's at home, and um completely different feeling, like aram se she's sitting and she started talking. Most strikingly, she was narrating very simple life story, and she started using abusive words, cursing, swearing. In general, also her husband had also come, and her husband had had some failure in business. But this lady started telling uh, in such an abusive, insulting way that how her husband had failed in the business. So I had actually taken that, it was so prominent that I had taken the rubric as it is. And as she started speaking, I had taken all these symptoms. There's cursing, swearing, abusive, and mischievous, very, very mischievous. And the way she sat in my clinic, like pulling her sari almost till mid thigh. So, mind naked desire to be dressing indecently. So, there was a certain remedy which came. Then there were so many other symptoms. Like she was very, very hyperactive. She was fidgeting continuously, like this. Her hands were continuously doing all the time, like 1 hour when she was sitting in my clinic continuously. And then I asked her daughter had got her to my clinic. When I asked her, what, does this happen all the time? She said, yeah, she's very, very hyperactive. And a lot of times, like she's so active. Even at 72, she would um she would cook in the house, but while cooking, she will not be silently doing it. She'll be moving continuously. She will um, bang, she'll make noise. And if somebody asks her, she said, so what? I make noise. So there was no filter which she had about mischievousness. Like if the full family is getting in a family gathering, or if friends are there, then this lady will start sharing double meaning jokes, like very silly, very stupid kind of jokes. Sometimes the daughter said, I would get embarrassed as to what my mother is speaking, but she will go on sharing um, horrible jokes. And she just, in general, like in the family get-togethers or whatever, at night, if people are sitting and talking, she will suddenly, put her pallu down. She's saying, "Garmi lag raha hai," and very amorous kind of mischievous and sexual talks she will start. So she had no filter. She was complaining all the time that she did not have a good life, whereas they did not have financial difficulties. Even though the husband had failed, her children were doing good, and they were very well off, no difficulties there. But she went on telling me about how complaints, what all complaints she had. Then she had typical behavior, that she was uh, very open with anybody and everybody. So anybody who came to the house, she will welcome them, and she will feed them. She will say, "Ki, you have to have full meal." So even they used to stay in a very remote place where there were most of the industrial area. So autos and all would not go to that area. So if any auto wala will come, she will say, "Come, have meal and then go." So very random kind of behavior. She did have mood swings of cheerfulness and sadness. And here, Dr. Vahai's question is very, very valid. That somebody can, very well uh, call her to be bipolar. That sometimes she's very angry and abusive about her husband, at the same time she will be very, very fun kind of a person, and very jovial. But no, she did have difficulties in understanding a lot of aspects of life. Like her hyperactivity was so very prominent. And the tools which will help you identify ADHD from bipolar would be, it will be filled up by the patient himself. I don't know, I have not included the scales. Just give me a minute. No, I've just taken the whole case in details, that what kind of dreams and all she had. So, yeah, she did not like to be criticized. She always felt, even though the whole family used to look after her, she always felt that she's deserted and forsaken. Then she used to dwell too much on the events of past, and how her husband had like good business, but he lost everything, and she did have disappointment. And her favorite movie was Maherchi Sadi, the movie wherein that so it's a Marathi movie wherein the lady dies, and then she does not get the last sari which is covered on the dead body of a lady, that it comes from her mother's family. So that she did not get. So, and she says she loves that movie and she cries a lot. So, horrible things and sad stories affect her profoundly. So I'd taken so many, it was like a information overload for me. And by the end of the case, so remedy was very, very clear. It was very close to lachesis, but I'd given her hyoscyamus because of her um, sheer stupidity. She was 72-year-old, but she had such foolish behavior, very child, teenage kind of an excitement she had, and lot of loquacity. So I'd given her hyoscyamus. She definitely had dreams, amorous, busy, fire, pleasant, whatever. So many symptoms, like a sea of symptoms I had. But what was differentiating was the rating scales. So to diagnose ADHD, most important is this adult ADHD self-report scale. Out of so many, there are 4 5 scales which are quite famous. My favorite is ASRS, wherein the patient actually can, fill up every detail of it on his own, and he himself can evaluate and understand whether he has ADHD or not. So I hope this answers Dr. Wahi's question. Once the scale comes positive, you almost have the diagnosis on your own. Now, yeah, we have 10 minutes left. So now coming to holistic care, what does ADHD require? So it's not just cracking the remedy, not just coming to an understanding of, not just coming to diagnosis or the remedy, it's the all around care which we must provide. So holistic care, wherein nutritional supplements, typically, there is a whole mess with catecholamines, the neurotransmitters. So, what you need to supplement is the whole complex of vitamin B, typically B9 and B12, but the entire complex is good. Also, certain amino acids. So, to put it in a broad term, I'm saying give protein rich diet so that all the neurochemicals are secreted in a proper way, and the pace of the nervous system is also maintained in such a way that the fast pace at which the thoughts are created, the nervous system is able to work with it. So your nutritional requirement has to be fulfilled. Then there are certain methods, physical methods, like organizational strategies. So typically these children or adults have to be trained to use to-do list, tracking apps, and specially design strict schedules. So this is for parents. If you have schedules, if you have time boxing, if you create a certain routine for these children, they can perform way better. Even working professionals, if they are identified with ADHD and they're not able to work, I have a veterinary doctor. He was diagnosed with ADHD after he completed his degree. He had a breakup and then he had come to me. At that time, we helped him exclusively with organizational strategies, like to-do list every day to make, and how to keep his focus and how to work. He did wonderful with that. Then the next one is self-care. Definitely, it's a huge topic. You have to teach them to meditate, mindfulness exercises, breathing exercises, and hobby building. Hobby building, something which will work with their eye-hand coordination. So typically clay modeling or sculpting, these kind of hobbies, if you teach them, however they perform, they need not excel in it, but building a hobby, that itself becomes like a therapeutic care. And physical activity is a must because it's a feel good dopamine boost which can soothe the nervous system. Therefore, physical activity, typically cardio, so running, cycling, swimming, dancing, excellent for them. Along with, so what a homeopath requires. The homeopath definitely requires a detailed history, clinical history, and in that, the approach definitely has to be patient first. So your focus has to be patient than going to whether parents gave them attention or what is the family dynamics or how is the patient doing. You have to have patient first as the focus. So detailed history around him. Then use appropriate scales, as I've already said. For children, the other scale is Connor's parent rating scale. I can share it later if needed, but I've shown it in that case. So Connors rating scale is a must. All of you should have it in your clinic printed whenever you feel you want to diagnose the patient. Give it to the parents. They can only diagnose it for you. You don't have to worry. Family counseling is a must. So, in the first case, as I said, major counseling helped with grandfather. When the grandfather came on board, then the child's treatment became all right. It worked. Then, diagnosis definitely has to be DSM-5, has to be there in your clinic, and you must evaluate accordingly. Lifestyle management has to be a focus around the diagnosis. So if the child has impulsivity as the higher point, then your lifestyle management has to be accordingly. If it is inattentiveness, then accordingly you manage the lifestyle. And then definitely use of repertory and all the remedies which are coming in the close circle, you must study everything together. So it's not a small feat, it's a huge task, humongous task, but let me tell you, it's a worthwhile. After treating more than, so I have recorded more than 100 cases of ADHD. It's a worthwhile exercise to go through, and the beauty at which when you see them functioning optimum, performing best at their best capacity, it's all worth all the effort. With that, I thank you all for listening patiently, and I think we finished in time. Yes, 3 minutes left. Yep.
Yes, very, very in time.
Any
Yeah.
any
Yeah.
questions? We can take one or two questions if there are any.
Yes, one second. Something written details of ASRS.
ASRS, it is the this rating scale, adult ADHD self-report scale. So these are scales worldwide accepted by ADHD for organizations, wherein you give it to themselves. You don't fill it for you. So there is no chance of interpretation. Once the patient fills up, that is definitely for adults. Adults, the patient is going to fill it up, and for the child, parents are going to fill it up. So you are out of the interpretation. It is their understanding. So it's a scale. ASRS is a scale.
Which is the scale for follow.
Same scale. So you keep the same scale, whichever has been filled up first case definition time, whatever scale has been filled up, same scale you give them later. You don't show them the first copy, obviously. You just give another print of that and you ask them to fill it up.
Can you explain Blata in first case?
It's a very beautiful case, Mittal. I will put it. So the whole feeling, I will tell you in nutshell. So this child was kind of unwanted by everybody. So it it's like in the building also he was not wanted. At home also it was not wanted. Everywhere he got a feeling like how when you look at cockroach, it was exactly that kind of a feeling. And he did give you creeps most of the times. He would so abrupt, he would suddenly just crawl up on you, same like cockroach. And that I did experience it for a good 6 months. Even though when I started giving him blata, it took a while for him to mellow down and become little close to normal. His treatment went on for good 2.5 years. His psoriasis went away in 6 months. After that, till now, so I started treating him when he was 8. Right now, he cleared his 10th standard last year. Till now, he did not have psoriasis. His entire family comes to me for treatment. So I know that he did not get psoriasis and he's doing better. Now we are not giving him any medicine as such. But yes, lifestyle, his mother sometimes comes and will ask questions because of teenage also. There are so many things which are happening. So that was bladder. We can explain it later sometime. Maybe I wanted to say so many things. I hope I did justice to the time.
There are a few more questions. You want to take it or it's 10 o'clock already?
We can take questions, no problem.
Okay. So, could you please details about diet for the patient of ADHD?
Yeah, wonderful. So I've already said that anything which will enhance neuro coordination. So the neurotransmitters, catecholamines, have to be produced in a proper manner. So B complex, B9 and B12 to be precise, and your proteins have to be rich in, your diet has to have good class 1 protein. So for a non-vegan, you can include curds. For a vegan, you can always include a lot of plant protein, various variety of it. You can add it. Yeah, protein and B12 is something which is a must.
Can we consider DD of conduct disorder in the old lady case?
Can we consider what?
Conduct disorder, DD conduct
Conduct.
disorder.
We can contemplate, but then her ASRS also came very, very positive for ADHD. So I did not consider any other disorder for her. And she did exceptionally well. I mean, if we are able to share, maybe we will print this case. I will share the ASRS in our journal. I will share these cases.
What potency have you given?
So both the cases, I started Blata also. I started with 200, and then I had to. By the time we finished treatment, I had to reach 10 m. This lady, we started with 1 m. Hyoscyamus 1 m. I had started because she was so high on energy all the time. So she did require 1 m to start with, and I think we gave 1 m only to her. I don't think we stepped up potency for her.
In case of bladder, could you observe some abnormality in the intrauterine history of the mother?
So lot of history, because you saw the grandfather was so dominating. So he did take small, small decisions like what sari all the daughter-in-laws should buy for Diwali. He would even go for that. So, there was lot of suppression during pregnancy and lot of disturbance she had. Probably I went through a bigger trauma than the mother because she came from the same community. Probably it was common for her, but there was a lot of suppression, and mother did have lot of anger and disgust for this family. Though where she was staying, she came from South Bombay, so she did say कि ना हाँ घटिया जगह पे डाल दिए हैं. That used to be her dialogue. Yeah.
Generally, parent asks, in how many days our ADHD child will get cured? What will be the perfect answer?
Is there anything called as perfect? Perfection is a myth. I don't have any perfect answers. I ask them, I will tell you what ADHD is, and then you tell me by when you think it will get cured. I don't give answers. Shri Ravi Shankar has said that if you want to make other people dumb, then give them all the answers. So I don't give answers to people.
So we have taken all the questions and most of them are very happy with the presentation. Everyone is saying it's a good presentation, very informative session.
Thank you. Thank you. There is so much to share. So, we might come out with a complete module on ADHD because I'm quite passionate about it. Maybe in near future we will do that.
Yes. So thank you, Vrushali, for a wonderful session. And thank you, friends. Our next webinar will be next month, third week of Friday, 9 to 10. Till then, bye bye. Good night. Thank
So
you.
Our next month journal is coming on panic disorder. Yeah, and then we will have one more issue on skin. So I hope everybody has downloaded the journal. Preeti or somebody can maybe put we could have given the link. It's okay. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
1 minute. There is some message. 1 second. Yeah, very good, very good. Everything is done. So
All
thank you,
right.
Vrushali. Thank
Good
you.
night.
Bye-bye.
Good night.